On a Copenhagen morning, student Maya is relaxing at a yoga class. Scientist Christian is spending time with his family. And bus driver Fleming is on his final shift. But their worlds are about to collide.
Get up here! Get up here! Sit!
Their lives will be transformed.
John, it's on you!
In a nightmare roleplay known as Nordic Larping. Relax, none of this is real. Danes are amongst the happiest people on the planet, and who can blame them? They've got a cradle-to-grave welfare system and the highest unemployment benefit on the planet. With 30% of the nation's GDP going towards social services, handouts are easy to come by. Some say too easy.
There's a national debate in Denmark over whether or not people are cheating the welfare system and getting more than their fair share.
What would happen if the government cracked down on all those receiving social benefits, forcing them to prove their worth to society, or suffer extreme consequences?
What happens to morality when you can't afford it? No! What happens if you put people in a place where their values are attacked?
Today, 40 adults are going to find out.
You will be questioned about your worth as human beings. If you cannot prove your worth, you will be sentenced to death.
The stage is set for a dramatic game of make-believe, known as Nordic Larping.
The word LARP is an acronym for live-action role-playing, and it's a kind of game that tells a story, and people who play the game play characters. You dress up in costume, and you play a character not for just a couple hours, but typically for a whole evening or maybe a whole weekend.
Let's get everybody inside.
Today's LARP will go well into the night. Klaus Rosted is the game master. When he's not organizing a LARP, he's playing.
What I personally get out of LARPing is I get to be somebody I'm not. I get to be a soldier occupying a country. Or I get to be an orc king. The shortest ones I've been at were for about an hour or so, and the longest I've played was a 6-day thing.
LARPing has its roots in the geek pursuit of Dungeons and Dragons. When dice and cards were swapped for costumes and rubber swords, LARPing was born. It came of age with the release of the Lord of the Rings films in 2001. Now, more than 1 million people LARP across the Western world, and nowhere is it more mainstream than Denmark.
It's 50 times more popular than it was 20 years ago. There are over 100,000 people participating in LARPs in Denmark, and this is out of a population of 5.5 million people.
More Danes LARP than play basketball or tennis.
In Denmark, if you go on the street and ask somebody what is LARP, 9 out of 10 will give you an answer.
Go with the hood over your head.
In Klaus's game, there's not an orc or a wizard in sight. Instead, there are cages, interrogation rooms, and worryingly, a medical examination room.
At the doctor's office, we're of course gonna examine you, and it's gonna be quite physical, of course. But we're gonna push it until you say stop, basically.
The setting is a dark, not too distant future.
If you feel something is going too far and you feel, okay, I need to stop this, this is pushing my boundaries, this is too much, you yell out, cut. Are we ready to go?
Yes.
Around half the LARPers will be playing employees of the state, politicians, guards, officials. The other half will be citizens on welfare, forced to prove their worth to society. As the game begins, they're herded into cages.
You will stay in these cages for the duration of this day, and we will take you out one at a time for interrogation.
What?
That's not making any sense at all.
In Copenhagen, a game of LARP, or live-action roleplay, begins.
Are we ready to go?
Yes.
For the next 8 hours, the real world will disappear. In its place, A dystopian Denmark where citizens must prove their worth to society or die.
State your name.
You have to tell me where I'm going!
Unlike a play, there's no script or audience.
Hello, can you tell me why I'm here and why I'm wearing this?
The players choose their role and improvise. 23-year-old student Maya has transformed into an unemployed woman called Andrea.
I have to get used to walking like her, I have to get used to thinking like her, I have to get used to talk like her.
Julie Foss.
Behind the scenes, a game master plays God, coordinating the players' every movement.
Once it starts, it gets amazingly complex because everybody needs to get the right information. Everybody needs to feel that they're the center of their own story.
Maya is locked up, along with 14 other citizens supposedly sponging off the state.
It's really necessary. It's protocol.
Over the coming hours, they'll be intimidated, interrogated, even subjected to mock medical examinations. And for many, there'll be no happy ending.
Any attempt at breakout or obstruction of the work of the military or civilian personnel of this camp will be seen as treason and will be punished by summary execution immediately.
What? That's not making any sense at all.
Have a nice day, and I hope you enjoy your stay.
Yeah.
Instead of just watching a thrilling movie, these LARPers are inside it.
I mean, we all like to be scared sometimes. We watch horror films and what have you. And this is, again, it's a kind of more interactive experience where people are taking themselves to the psychological limits to see, you know, how far they can go. I think anybody engaging in very extreme forms of LARPing, they are wanting to explore that darker side of their personality, that darker side of their kind of psyche.
Like many of us, Flemming Jacobsen sometimes wonders what life would be like if he had chosen a different route. This weekend, LARPing will give him a chance to find out as he transforms from gentle bus driver to a high-powered lawmaker.
We did not make this law just to kill people, okay?
No, we didn't. We made this law. You made this law. You actually voted for this law.
Flemming's character passed a law that enables the state to take such drastic action against its citizens.
I haven't hurt anyone.
So one of the strong things about role-playing is that you can actually get away with doing stuff that you can't do in real life.
Flemming's job as a bus driver offers little, or let's face it, no opportunity to sentence anyone to death. Like most Danes, he lives a safe, predictable life. In 2012, the World Audit ranked Denmark as the least corrupt and the second most democratic country in the world.
They live in a society that is very sedate, it's very safe, it's very structured.
This very stability may be the reason why Danes indulge in LARPs with such sinister themes.
By participating in the LARP, you may actually be able to really get a sense or a feel of what it's like to be under the oppressive heel of a government, or to be tortured by somebody, or to be executed even.
I told them everything.
The LARP has been underway for 3 hours. 7 of the prisoners have undergone interrogations. 6 are awaiting medical assessment. 1 has already met with swift justice. Now, it's Maya's turn to face her interrogators.
Andrea, you have to understand. Is this a joke? It's funny.
Being broken down, that's not something you want to do in real life. But in a LARP, you can experience that in safe conditions.
The only way something like LARPing can work is that everybody agrees beforehand. If we're doing a LARP about being lovers, is it okay to hold hands? Is it okay to kiss? And if it's a violent LARP, if we're doing a Fight Club-inspired thing, are we going to beat each other up, or are we just going to have pretend fights, or will somebody get their ribs broken here?
Meanwhile, over in the medical surgery, this player has opted for the full treatment. But LARPing can catch you with your pants down.
Could you check the prostate?
Yes, of course.
Even though we sometimes do extreme things, we want to be focused on safety. If somebody says that this is going too far, they'll yell cut or break, which are the two most used safe words.
Despite the violation, there's no safe word uttered here. His dignity lies in tatters, but his lips stay tightly sealed.
Everything okay?
Over in the seat of power, bus driver turned despot Fleming is coming face to face with the human cost of his new law.
Put me to jail, but don't kill me.
Fleming wanted to have a breakdown scene, so we make sure that can happen, and they kind of play up so it does happen.
But please, let's give her a chance.
People have these strong reactions sometimes without wanting to, and say, I didn't know this was going to affect me as strongly.
When a Nordic Larp affects someone's real life, it's known as bleed.
For example, playing a prisoner of war or playing a homosexual, which I'm not in normal life, so it would be different for me, playing that for 5 days, that affects you. And sometimes it affects you deeply and changes the way you look at life.
Time for Maya's second interrogation. This time, she's up against the big guy.
Okay, so I was asking you a simple yes or no question.
Christian might seem fierce, but in his real life, he's a doting father.
I'm told that my temper is very mild, so I don't get angry very easily.
But today, Christian is playing his polar opposite, the interrogator.
Yeah, we get that. Yeah, but what kinds of jobs have you been searching for? Try to name a few. So at some points, I do like to play a character who can get more angry. Okay, so you have no prior working experience?
In 8th grade, we were...
And Maya's happy to play along.
I have decided that in the LARP I want to be more physical.
This one's been on her bucket list for a long time.
It was really shocking, mostly because of the cold and the feel of being out of control.
Some experts believe our primal nature for violence runs deep, and that getting in touch with your bad side can be good for you.
I would argue that actually for 99% of the people who are sane and not mentally ill, that these kinds of activities are cathartic.
What we don't know is the psychological effects of actually being engaged in things like mock executions and mock cruelty.
Please pay some respect to regards, otherwise we don't respect you.
We don't know to what extent that will carry over to people's behaviour in real life.
The jury's out, but studies suggest that Danish children who LARP are less likely to commit crime.
Whatever, can you get them to help me now?
After 8 grueling hours, the LARP reaches its climax.
Thank you very much for your cooperation. It's a pleasure to let you go.
5 players have lived to collect welfare another day, though 9 have paid the ultimate price.
Down, on your knees.
And now, Maya's character Andrea is about to join them.
We don't pretend that we know what it's like to be a soldier or a convict, but we still think that we get just a tiny bit of enlightenment about it.
The nightmare's over, and Fleming's looking forward to life, shifting back to a lower gear.
When you get out of a lab like this, it's always nice to know that that's not how we do stuff in real life.
Should we hug? Should we hug? We are not really fascists. It's all right.
LARPing is a strong experience, and it creates a bond between people. You've shared a level of trust very few people do. You've let your guard down.
Now, my hope is that by experiencing these things, they would develop much greater compassion for people who are suffering in the world. And in fact, it might be a good idea if some world leaders participated in these kind of LARPs.